It's June 21st, 2022. I'm so confused in the story. I mean, I know what I've been through. I'm grounded in the experiences that I've been dragged into and through with very few enjoyable pop-ins or pop-overs or whatever. But I don't, again. So this morning they had on Stephen Colbert and some arrests of his crew, and then they're bringing forward the puppetry, momentous reemergence of, because again, I don't even know the local stuff. They haven't, but I do remember when Jay got hired with NYPD. There was this thing, they cuffed him and put him in the back of a car, get really upset, and then the same men who were uniformed NYPD wanted to meet me for some reason. And so that was an interesting conversation because they were rookies and they're like, so what do you think we do all day? I'm like, no idea. I mean, like, you're the uniformed safety, whatever goes on around here. I mean, like, how do I put that in words more than that, unless there's some kind of ride-along, but I don't really think I want to go into, like, the dangerous parts of the job of what you all are up to. So that happened in real world with the NYPD. So this morning it says forgotten. So yesterday, on Juneteenth, this new thing that popped out of nowhere on Father's Day, no less. That was one day. That was Freedom Day, and then the Observance Day was Monday for whatever reason. It says forgotten history honored. Freedom fighters honored with memorial in St. Louis for Juneteenth. Now, in this piece, it's some black guy who's studying civil rights, and now they have a bronze memorial to him and his people inside of North America and the United States. No idea how that happened. And he's carrying on as if these slaves in this storyline were his people. But yet the judge, the jury, and the entire thing surrounding this were in St. Louis, were white. So it's just, again, and then I'll reference back to Stephen Colbert and this whole puppetry thing. So I have it mid-story where it's really important, where they mention it was white jury, white judge, and some papers. Because the slaves didn't read or write. There was a foreman involved. So what happens is, I don't understand, where are these foremen and why is there a different population trying to interject here in a narrative? I mean, it's almost like this really cleverly disguised distraction for, no, they're serious. I got serious, like, airline things. I found out there was some civil war in Libya. There's some of their people here. There's one of their representatives in the UN, like, with some United States, and then a president thing in some Security Council, and I'm like, that's a problem. I mean, it's just like, so, here it says, forgotten history honored in I don't know how, and the guy's talking in the courtroom. And then also, it mentions this golden something or other. There is a mention today on CBS, same program, about this basketball team. I don't know which one because I don't really follow basketball, but they got some golden trophy. And there's this gigantic mob, and it's City by the Bay, which they use California and San Francisco as the gathering spot. Not my bay, a different bay, but that's that East Coast, West Coast thing I can never figure out because nobody tells me anything. But, like, there's some animosity there. I'm not sure why or, I mean, like, again. So, this is what it looks like.
Freedom suits were hard-fought legal victories. Remember, it's the middle of the 1800s, so a slave walking into a St. Louis courtroom wasn't allowed to read or write, couldn't even testify in a court of law. The judge and jury consisted solely of white men, and Missouri was a slave state.
Now, was this back in, like, Bavaria? Like, cotton was here? Because my dad's name's Louis. And then it's Nicholas, which is who I was promised to for marriage. So this gets really, and then there was this thing about this lost bust. I know I've had a man come here. I think it was what I see when they have his Israel text. He had that on his card. I'm like, I don't know, is that Hebrew or is that Greek? Because I can't tell the difference. Again, just like I can't tell the difference between Mandarin and Korean. The symbols, I haven't been scholared in what artwork belongs to whom.
There's a time when the jury was likely biased against the person suing for their freedom. The judge was likely biased in some ways against them, and that the system still worked.
Yes.
What does that say about justice?
That means that it can work. Truth is powerful. Facts are powerful. Having the strength to look falsehood in the eye and call it out for what it is powerful.
Funded by private donations, the towering sculpture entitled Freedom's Home is set to be officially unveiled as...
You mean like if an empire crumbles in faraway places and then the ancestors and direct supply chain are affected in faraway lands, and they have these employees that want to be fed and want employment, and now there's no longer contractable indentured servitude, which is like, I think the preferred option according to the service member that was sent yesterday. He explained, at least with indentured servitude, you have a contract and you know when you earn your freedom. He's like, with slavery, you don't even know that you're a slave. And I'm like, right. Yeah, that is key. Thank you for that. Like, that definition, that, like, defining moment. So, and then, like, if they get their story wrong, I mean, it becomes, like, a whole new thing of, like, and, again, there were some keywords that were used yesterday, and I'm just like,
As the nation celebrates Juneteenth, the names of all 330 known Freedom Suit plaintiffs will be added around its base. What do you think Dred and Harriet would say?
They would be happy and they would be proud, but they would totally...
See, this makes no sense. I need... Facts are St. Louis, white jury, white judge, and potentially white slaves to a kingdom from far, far away that may or may have not been under attack at some point, but words didn't get to where we were across the ocean in time. That's a possibility. I mean, there's unexplored history, and there's clearly some prejudice, but not in the way that the humans are portraying it to the public or teaching it in the institutions. They're teaching it in the exact inverse of what actually is going on for me.
We all missed a chance for a Nobel Peace Prize yesterday, unless you happen to be the anonymous buyer who paid 103.
Now this I noticed. There's something called the Times Center. Now in New York, there's something called the New York Times. I don't have money to purchase it, but I hear that it exists. It's the major New York whatever. But in Washington, I don't know if they have a Washington Times, but they have the Washington Post, which looks like the drawings of the letters, the calligraphy, looks very New York Times-ish. Because in New York, they have a New York Post, but it's never been thought of or spoken of in the highest of light or regard. I don't know why that is either.
$5 million at auction yesterday. It was a real prize, by the way, awarded to Russian investigative journalist Dmitry Meritov last year and auctioned off on World Refugee Day, all to raise money for Ukrainian child refugees. The money, in fact, went directly to UNICEF, which confirmed it got it. And to our last story, Stephen Colbert responding for the first time after Late Show staffers were arrested outside the U.S. Capitol last week. The group had been filming a segment with Triumph the insult comic dog when Capitol Police say they detained 7 unescorted people inside a congressional office building. Those people were processed and later released. And during last night's show, Colbert said the team had permission to interview members of Congress. Take a listen.
They went through security clearance, shot all day Wednesday, all day Thursday, invited into the offices of the Congress people they were interviewing. And that's very important. You have to invite Triumph in. He works on Dracula rules.
Colbert also called out TV personalities who had compared his staff's entry to the January 6th insurrectionists, joking that this was first-degree puppetry. He made a serious point as well, saying it was shameful and grotesque to compare that shoot with a puppet dog to what happened when people died on January 6th.
Shameful and grotesque is the word. I'm glad he addressed it, too.
Yeah, agreed. Well said.
On the side.
As we mentioned earlier.
No, this is interesting. This is another piece of the Stephen Colbert. This is how the CBS show opened this morning. I'm going to do this piece where he does mention the puppetry thing, first degree or whatever, which again, I don't know the letters of the law. I don't know the colors of the law. I can't even read the law because I haven't been taught the patterns in anything that's cognitively cohesive. But it goes from this piece, and then I'm going to reference where this basketball team in this NBA, which uses a court and some game in the North American words of sport that I try to follow along, but it's really, really hard to decipher. And the man gets on the microphone, he's like, what do you want me to tell you? We're better than everybody else? It's like, well, it's clear as day that's how you've all been acting my entire life while I've been here in this really dangerous position.
For Stephen Colbert's The Late Show were arrested by Capitol Police. Triumph the insult comic dog
And his team broke the rules and were messing around during the January 6 hearings. Jailed for one night. That's not a lot. The penalty for insurrection is death.
An insurrection involves disrupting the lawful actions of Congress and howling for the blood of elected leaders, all to prevent the peaceful transfer of power. This was first-degree puppetry. This was hijinks with intent to goof. Misappropriation of an old Conan bit.
This morning's Eye Opener is presented by Progressive, making it easy to bundle insurance.
Now, here's this sport where they got this gold trophy. I don't know what it's called. I don't follow along. But the only reason why it's pertinent is because they're in something called a bay, B-A-Y, and I don't want it to be confused with my East Coast bay. They're in a West Coast bay, according to this televised teleprompter.
Let's go!
For the first time, San Francisco got to host a Warriors championship parade, and it did not disappoint.
I don't know. What y'all want me to tell you? That we better than everybody?
Staffers.
Now, this is interesting. I know it's relevant. It says American financing. Because for someone who was incredibly happy to be picked as a recognizable god in my life frame and someone I could look up to, I don't understand. But again, I mean, is he fighting alone? I mean, where is his backup? Why do we have to grow into these roles after I've been hurt so horrifically? Why couldn't he just have been my quiet superhero and rescue me from a child? That's what I don't get. But then they put up this commercial, and it's like some other football guy or some other roast beef guy handing the guy here a wife and 4 kids. And like, I don't know, it says American financing. Not quite sure how that really works out in real life.
What do you think? I think you're going to talk to American financing. Hey, man.
When you refi with a
Oh, a sports guy. Look at that. A player and has game. And his whatever that's next to him that does not look familial whatsoever. You know, there really are people who get hurt in the field. I'm just curious if anybody at like the top knows that. Here's who he brought along.
American financing, you're going to save $1,000 a month.
You know how much that is over 30 years?
He's not that good at math.
I'm not. It's enough to send 4 kids to college. We're having 4 kids? Oh, yeah. All at the same time. This is my future? It is. Good luck. Start planning for your future today.
Right, yeah, that goes back to that whole conversation with Nate and this money watch, and like, he's just trying to get drafted to a sports team, black guy, trying to get drafted to the sports team. They're already talking about retirement and putting away money. Right, yeah, okay, so you all have been jumping the gun and pushing for this really bad event that is now occurring. I have a problem between a Dyson sphere and my current position. I'm an RH negative. I'm one of the smallest groups of kindred in both spirit and in bloodlines left on the planet. We interact. I mean, you've made plenty of movies on it, but in real world, it does exist. I'm not like the rest. I'm RH negative. The majority of humans are RH positive. The Dyson sphere interacts differently, and I interact differently with the Earth, the solar system, and then how the planetary is in alignment. At the moment, my kinesthetic ace, my sensory organ, being what looks like human with this RH negative, is picking up on health consequences that I have no control over. Somewhere in a stereosphere, in a heliosphere, orbital, and then there's, so that's the radio whatever, and then there's the rhesus component of it. It's not normal human speak, but you've got me locked in so uselessly in New York, I can't even signal for help properly. I don't even know how to get to the level of help I need. And it doesn't exist in this AMA, whether it be music awards or whether it be the medical association that they put together in New York. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole Cattaruzza. It's Earth, Solar System, Milky Way, Universe, Galaxy is broken. And it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361. I don't know who, because again, had this in private collection, but I hear that it went to the frick in Hague. I know it's significant. I just don't know how to put all of the puzzle pieces together in the Ruzel. Puzzle to Ruzel from one-dimensional facts that I have and that I can see into a 360-degree fit in order to get myself help from the other pieces that know things. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole Cattaruzza. It's Earth, Solar System, Milky Way, Universe, Galaxy is broken. It's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.